Have you ever looked at a group of people from, say, one country and just been struck by how different they all look? Not just, clothes or language, but their actual features, skin tones, eye colors, the whole spectrum.
Mm.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into Pakistan. It's a nation where people show this incredible, uh, really remarkable physical diversity.
Absolutely.
We're going to explore what creates this stunning mix, how geography, history, millennia of migrations have literally written diversity onto the faces of Pakistan.
It's quite a story.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we've gathered a whole range of sources. We've got ancient historical accounts, cutting-edge genetic studies, detailed anthropological notes, and some really fascinating cultural observations, too.
A really rich set of materials.
Definitely. Our mission is basically to unpack this incredible story and understand what makes the Pakistani people look so wonderfully distinct from each other, yet somehow undeniably connected. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's a truly compelling story. And, Pakistan's unique position. It's literally at the crossroads of Central Asia, South Asia, and the Middle East. This location has made it just an unparalleled human melting pot.
Well, melting pot, right.
Yeah, and that geographical reality means it's basically impossible to pin down one single Pakistani look that fits everyone. Our journey today will take us from the earliest civilizations right up to modern genetic surveys. We'll see how every twist and turn of history has added to this vibrant, living mosaic you see walking around today.
That crossroads idea is so powerful. What is it about Pakistan's actual geography that made it such a stage for human movement? How did the mountains and deserts and rivers actually help people move instead of just blocking them?
That geographical placement is absolutely central. If you think back, say, 5,000 years ago, you have the Indus Valley civilization flourishing there, one of the world's oldest urban societies, already with a complex culture. But then it just became this magnet for movement. Around 1500 BCE, you had these significant Aryan migrations sweep in, fundamentally changing the demographic landscape. And after that, it was just, a constant flow. The Greeks under Alexander the Great came through.
Right, Alexander.
Then the powerful Persians, nomadic Scythians, Arabs coming via the sea, expansionist Turks, the formidable Mongols.
Oh, just wave after wave.
Exactly. And each one left a really indelible mark, not just on the culture or the architecture, but directly on the genetics of the people living there. These geographical features weren't just landmarks, they were highways for empires, traders, entire populations moving back and forth.
So it's not just ancient history then, it's like living history carried in the people.
Precisely.
What's fascinating here is how these historical movements translate directly into modern genetics. How do we see that today?
That's exactly right. Recent genetic studies, particularly those from around 2017, have given us a really clear scientific map of this ancient mixing. These studies show that modern Pakistanis carry roughly about 60–65% South Asian ancestry. That's sort of the base layer. On top of that, there's a significant chunk, about 20–25% of West Eurasian and Middle Eastern input. That clearly reflects those waves of Persian and Arab influence we mentioned.
Makes sense.
And then completing the picture, you see about 10–15% Central Asian and East Asian admixture. That's the genetic mixing, which points to things like the Silk Road and the Mongol connections.
So it's a real blend.
It is. So what this really tells us is that modern Pakistanis are literally living genealogies. Each person is like a walking record of these ancient meetings and movements. And this blend directly explains why someone from, say, bustling Lahore might look very different from someone in the high mountains of Gilgit-Baltistan, or maybe someone from coastal Karachi.
Yet they're all Pakistani.
Yet all are unequivocally Pakistani. Yeah, this genetic map truly brings that history to life on a very personal level.
It's incredible how history is just etched right into our DNA like that. And speaking of faces, what's often the first thing people notice? Skin tone, right?
Often, yes.
How does Pakistan's complex history play out in that specific feature?
Well, the spectrum of skin tones across Pakistan is truly remarkable. In the northern areas, especially places with more Central Asian or Persian influence, you'll often find people with fairer complexions, light olive sometimes.
By north.
Then, as you move south into the plains like Punjab and Sindh, those medium golden to olive tones become much more common. And then, if you go further south, down into southern Sindh and Balochistan, you'll encounter deeper brown tones. These sometimes show traces of historical Arabian and even some African ancestry, likely through trade routes.
It's a real gradient.
It's a true gradient, absolutely. Not just black and white, or even just 2 or 3 shades. Now, according to surveys, roughly 35% of Pakistanis are described as having fair to light olive skin. A larger group, about 45%, falls into that medium golden brown category. Many would consider this the most sort of common phenotype, the observable look.
The majority, yeah.
And then around 20% of the population has deeper brown complexions. Now, here's where it gets culturally quite sensitive sometimes.
Right.
Pakistani media, unfortunately, often tends to idealize lighter skin. This bias is a complex legacy, partly from colonial times, partly from the influence of Bollywood cinema imagery, you know?
That fairness ideal.
Exactly. And it's not just about beauty standards. It can become a real societal pressure. These historical biases can unfortunately still shape how people see themselves and each other.
It's good that you mentioned the social campaigns challenging that, though. That's a hopeful sign.
It really is. There's a growing movement pushing back.
Does that kind of re-evaluation impact how other features are seen, too?
Yeah.
Like, let's move to the eyes of the Indus. Is there something unique about eye color diversity there?
It absolutely does tie in as people start to question what's beautiful or authentic. And when it comes to eye color, Pakistan really stands out in the region. While the vast majority, maybe 75% of Pakistanis have dark brown eyes, which is typical for South Asia,
Right.
a significant portion, maybe 15–20%, have hazel or amber eyes.
Oh, interesting.
And here's the really striking part. About 5–7% of Pakistanis actually have green or blue eyes. That frequency is quite unusual for the region.
5 to 7%.
That's noticeable.
It is. And you'll find these lighter eye colors are particularly concentrated up in the northern regions, places like Swat, Chitral, Gilgit-Baltistan.
Yeah.
Genetic studies suggest these lighter shades come directly from that West Eurasian ancestry. We talked about the Persian, Greek, Central Asian connections.
Historical layers again. Exactly. Travelers often comment on it. They notice the striking frequency of green and hazel eyes, especially in certain valleys in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Some reports say it can reach as high as 30% in specific, more isolated communities.
30%. Wow.
Yeah, it's a very vivid visual reminder of that ancient crossroads effect.
Remarkable. It feels like we're really building a full picture now. What about hair? Is that another piece of the diversity puzzle?
It absolutely is. Hair diversity in Pakistan is yet another clear reflection of those centuries of genetic mixing. The most common hair type, probably around 65%, is straight, jet black hair, pretty standard for the broader region.
Okay.
But beyond that, you'll find maybe 20% of people with wavy dark brown hair, quite common in Punjab and Sindh. Then about 10% display lighter shades, anything from chestnut to auburn, even some cases of blondish hair again, mostly in those northern regions with stronger Central Asian links.
Lighter hair, too.
Yes. And finally, maybe 5% or so exhibit curly or frizzier textures. You see this more along the Makran coast in Balochistan, reflecting some historical African and Arabian connections, likely through maritime trade and interaction over centuries.
So really the full spectrum.
Definitely. Anthropologists have actually noted that Pakistan has one of the broadest ranges of hair shades and textures in all of South Asia. It's like a living laboratory of human genetic variation.
That's a great way to put it. So we've looked at skin, eyes, hair, these individual features. But what about broader things like facial structure, overall build? Do those also show regional patterns?
They certainly do. Let's call it the architecture of the face across Pakistan is as varied as the landscapes themselves. If you look at people from Punjab, for example, you often find medium to tall builds, maybe oval faces, quite sharp noses are common.
Okay.
Move over to the Pashtun communities, say in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and you'll often see taller people, sometimes very tall, often with aquiline or hook noses, and sometimes paired with those fairer features we mentioned.
Right.
Sindhis tend perhaps towards broader noses, often with medium to darker skin tones and maybe wavy hair. In Balochistan, you often see quite strong jawlines, robust builds, frequently with darker olive to brown skin, adapted to the harsher climate, maybe.
Rugged features.
And then way up north in Gilgit-Baltistan, you find high cheekbones, often lighter olive skin, maybe almond-shaped eyes, features that clearly show Tibetan and Central Asian influences.
So really distinct regional looks.
Very distinct. And these aren't just, casual observations. Anthropometric studies, the scientific measurement of human bodies, have actually quantified this. They've shown up to a remarkable 16% variation in things like nasal width and other craniofacial measurements between northern and southern groups in Pakistan.
16% variation. That sounds like a lot.
It's one of the highest variations recorded within a single country in Asia. It really highlights the sheer genetic distance, historically speaking, between some of these populations, all within Pakistan.
That's staggering. And what about overall height and build? Does that also follow these regional lines?
It certainly does. Generally speaking, Pakistanis rank among the taller populations in South Asia. Currently, the average male height is around 171 centimeters. That's roughly 5'7.5" Average female height is about 158 centimeters, so 5'2".
Okay, the averages.
But again, these national averages hide quite significant regional differences. For instance, Pashtuns and some other northern groups tend to be the tallest. Men there average between 173 and 175 centimeters, so closer to the 5'8" or 5'9".
Noticeably taller.
Yeah. Punjabis are generally closer to the national average. Sindhis and Baloch tend to be slightly shorter on average, maybe around 169, 170 centimeters for men. And what's also fascinating is the change happening now. A health survey around 2020 indicated that urban youth, particularly, are getting taller faster.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, Pakistani men have apparently grown nearly 7 centimeters taller on average since the 1950s.
Wow.
And this isn't seen as genetic drift. It's mostly attributed to improved diet and better healthcare access over the decades. It shows how environment interacts with our underlying genetics.
It's like watching evolution happen, but driven by nutrition.
In a way, yes. It's quite a rapid change.
It's truly fascinating seeing how all these pieces, or genetic history, the skin tones, eye colors, hair, facial structures, builds, create such a rich tapestry. But this brings us to a really central question, doesn't it? All this diversity. So what does this all mean? How do all these differences come together or sometimes maybe even clash when people talk about a typical Pakistani look? Is there such a thing?
That's where the conversation gets really complex and honestly often quite charged. There's a definite contrast in perceptions. Outsiders, maybe influenced by global media or perhaps just encountering people from specific regions, often seem to stereotype Pakistanis as, predominantly fair-skinned with green eyes.
That sort of romanticized image.
Exactly. And while that look exists, of course, it represents only one segment of the population. It definitely doesn't capture the whole picture. Internally, within Pakistan itself, there's a pretty robust debate. Many people argue that the real Pakistani look, if you can even say that, should be characterized more by golden brown skin, dark eyes, black hair, because that represents the majority phenotype, the most widespread appearance across the country.
So internal versus external views can be quite different.
Very different. And this debate gets even more complicated when you factor in ethnic politics. Now, it's really crucial here to be impartial. We're just reporting the viewpoints found in the sources, not endorsing any particular side.
Understood. Just laying out the different perspectives.
Exactly. So, for instance, the Punjabi community, being the largest group and dominant in politics and media, is often implicitly, sometimes explicitly, seen as embodying the face of Pakistan. But then you have other groups pushing back. Pashtuns might emphasize their often lighter features and taller frames as representing strength and perhaps a more ancient original heritage. Sindhis and Baloch communities, who often have darker skin tones, actively demand recognition for their appearance as being equally and authentically Pakistani, challenging those pervasive lighter skin beauty standards.
They want their look validated too.
Precisely. And up in the northern regions, people in Gilgit-Baltistan, with their distinct lighter olive skin, almond eyes, Tibetan-like features, often feel invisible in the broader national narrative. They push back against that, asserting their unique place in the country's diverse identity.
It's clearly a very layered and sensitive issue.
It is.
To really bring this diversity to life for you, our listener, let's maybe try and visualize it. Imagine, as one source described, taking a walk through Karachi's bustling Sadar market.
Yeah, imagine the scene. You might see a tall Pashtun trader with striking hazel eyes, carefully arranging dried fruits at his stall. Right next to him, maybe a Sindhi vendor, perhaps with slightly darker skin, wavy hair, calling out prices for colorful bangles. Across the way, maybe a Punjabi shopkeeper, golden brown skin, sharp features, bargaining loudly over textiles. Further down, perhaps you see a Baloch fisherman, strong jawline, skin darkened by the sun, unloading his morning catch.
A real mix.
And weaving through this lively crowd, you might spot some students from Gilgit-Baltistan, identifiable by their lighter olive skin, maybe those distinctive high cheekbones and almond eyes, just making their way through the market. What that scene really drives home is the message. So many different faces, but one nation. And this incredible tapestry of appearances naturally brings with it a whole emotional dimension, both pride and sometimes, sadly, prejudice. For many Pakistanis, their physical appearance is tied directly to regional or ethnic pride. Families might boast about Pashtun height or Punjabi sharpness or Sindhi depth or Baloch ruggedness. These traits become markers of heritage.
A source of identity.
Definitely. But that pride can exist alongside and sometimes be overshadowed by deep-seated prejudice, particularly colorism, that unfair elevation and celebration of later features over darker ones. It's a challenge rooted in those complex historical and cultural biases we touched on.
But there's pushback now.
Yes, and that's the hopeful note. We're seeing social media campaigns, like #BrownIsBeautiful, really gaining traction. They actively celebrate the natural diversity of Pakistani skin tones. Younger Pakistanis especially seem to be increasingly pushing back against those older, often Eurocentric ideals of beauty. They're choosing instead to embrace all shades, all shapes, all features as authentically and beautifully Pakistani.
That's really positive.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this whole cultural conversation about appearance, it really reflects a deeper struggle for identity, for recognition, for belonging within the nation itself.
It's clear from our deep dive, then, that scientists, historians, anthropologists, they all really agree. There just isn't one single Pakistani look.
Right.
Pakistan is truly a nation defined by its contrasts, its people's appearances, profoundly shaped by its unique geography, and its incredibly complex, layered history.
Exactly.
From those green-eyed Pashtuns to the golden-skinned Punjabis, from darker-skinned Sindhis to broad-faced Baloch, and including the Tibetan-featured people of Gilgit-Baltistan. This amazing diversity is what defines Pakistan's unique position at the crossroads of South and Central Asia.
That's really the powerful resolution, isn't it? The answer to why do Pakistanis look so different lies right there in that indelible imprint of geography, history, and constant human movement. The fertile Indus plains, the imposing Himalayan passes, the arid deserts of Sindh, the sun-baked coasts of Makran, they've all left their mark, literally, on the faces of the people.
A living map.
A living map. So when you encounter a Pakistani with striking green eyes and fair skin, and then another with warm golden brown tones and wavy hair, and maybe another with a darker complexion and curly locks, you're not seeing contradictions. Quite the opposite, actually. You're seeing Pakistan itself resilient, incredibly diverse, and just alive with the echoes of its profound history. And this perhaps raises an important question for you, the listener. What does it truly mean for a nation's identity to be defined not by a single unifying image, but by such profound inherent diversity?
That's a great question to ponder. Perhaps the truest national identity isn't about trying to narrow down faces into one specific mold, but about having the courage to celebrate the vast differences. Because it's those differences woven together that tell the complete, rich, and always evolving story of a nation. And really, this isn't just about Pakistan, is it? It's a pretty profound lesson for how we understand identity everywhere.